All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, the same leader 13, and today we are about to get underway for the fourth race of FEC's Summer Indycar Series. It's the second race on the oval, and more importantly, it is the big one. This is a 250-mile race here around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It will be complete with the normal festivities, such as the 3-wide start and all that. I am not going to try and sing Back Home again in Indiana. Actually, maybe I could try to sing Back Home again in Indiana. But I'm not going to try and sing Back Home again in Indiana. I do not have Jim Neighbors' voice. I don't have that wonderful voice anyway. But anyways, with that in mind, let's go ahead real quickly and run you down what the championship standings look like at this stage in the season. In the Drivers' Championship, you are looking at, one second. In the Drivers' Championship, Slasher is 19th. He has 0 points. 18th is Dremora with 15th. 17th is Benders with 19 points. 16th is Naito. He has 30. 15th is Kuroshine with 42. 14th is Panther with 44. 13th is King with 46. 12th is NFL Racer with 51, which puts him into a tie with Scored. 10th is Meteor with 54. There's a tie for 8th between Packerman and Jack Broseph. They both have 60 points. 7th is CGK Thomas. They have 63 points. 6th is Nismo with 68. No, I'm sorry. 7th is Nismo. 6th is Prius Killer. He has 75. 5th is Panda with 76 points. 4th is Amish Gaming with 79. 3rd is Claiming Racer with 86 points. 2nd is Dino Prime 77 with 95 points. And leading right now is Maybe Racing, who has had a podium finish in every race thus far this season. He has 132 points on the season. When it comes to the team championships, Damage Incorporated has only 15. Genesis Magma has 44. Two-Door Racing has 63. Raycon X GGA has 76. GGA Esports has 149 points. Hyperion has 169. Hendrickson Racing Enterprises 182, and the P1 Speedworks Ford team has 216 points. In the Manufacturers Championship, Cadillac has 3 points, Hyundai has 5, Porsche has 10, Lotus has 16, Honda has 37, Buick has 53, Dodge has 61, and Ford has opened up a big gap with 101 points as it stands right now. Real quickly, let's go ahead and look at some of the drivers that will be running in today's race. Niesmorft is going to be taking back to the circuit once more. Kuroshine is going to be returning. Jack Broseph, who is going to be starting on the pole today, is going to be in that very nice looking black, red, and blue livery. Dino Prime 77 is back in his Dr. Pepper machine. Pindas, the series host, is in his Raycon. TNR Larry B making his first start in this series. He'll be in a familiar looking yellow diehard, also the first Toyota entry of the season. SDR Dremora is in a Duracell Indycar. Maybe Racing is back in their factory Ford looking machine. Amish Racing is in a Motul sponsored machine. GGA Design is in that Honda Racing development HRC red, white, and blue machine. GK Flackbus is in his late 80s styled Porsche. Fraught Meteor is in that very brightly painted machine that you really can't mistake for anything else. Thomas, I can't really get a good idea on what that paint scheme looks like. I do apologize. Prius Killer 8110 is going to be running what I believe is a National Guard scheme. Thunder 8159 is in the other Ford. King Racing Leo is in a blue and white. I believe that's a work for the Cure, but I'm not sure. And then Forza Van R8 is in a 2005 era Renault styled paint job. And BWT Magnesium, he is going to be the pace car for today's event. So we are looking at a 16 car grid, if my understanding is correct. 16? Yeah, it should be 17, I think, actually, because I'm not racing, obviously, and Magnesium is just a pace car, so I believe we're looking at a 17-car field for today's event. So what they're going to do is the field will roll off in single file initially, but then once they get to turns 3 and 4 at the end of their first pace lap, they'll start tripling up, and they'll have a full lap in the 3-wide formation. But remember, that's only for the first lap and first start of the race. After that, any subsequent restart would be done in single file formation. So do keep that in mind for today's race. So this will be 250 laps. The fuel tank at full bore can last you about 29 laps. So this is a 3-stop race. If there is a lot of yellow placed strategically, you could potentially make this a 2-stop affair. The big thing though is that we saw at Miami, these cars are not really dictated very much by the life of the tires. They're almost entirely dictated by the weight in the fuel tank. You can be on worn out tires and be setting fast laps because you don't have much fuel left in the tank. So with the fuel number being the single most important thing in the car, it may be very, very likely that we see a scenario where drivers will try to maybe even 4-stop just so that way they can maximize the amount of time spent on track during fast laps, especially if we have a lot of yellows. The only other oval race we have had thus far this season was at Miami, which is about 2 weeks ago. That race was filled with a lot of chaos from start to finish, constant accidents. I think the longest green flag run we had was only about 20 or 21 laps there. So they're going to be trying to go in a little bit longer today. Also, go ahead and put as many beans as you want in the chat if you have some way of doing that, because someone asked to give it to the beans. But anyways, we are standing by right now, waiting for them to ready up and get underway for the race proper. We also want to give a quick shout out and thank you to BWT Magnesium for doing pace car duties once again today. But yeah, that runs down the majority of the situations. For Maybe Racing, their big thing is that they're trying to open up as big of a gap in the points as possible. Maybe Racing is not guaranteed to make all of the remaining races throughout the season. They are the current championship leader. They are wanting to open up as big of a gap on Dino Prime 77, who is a little bit more likely to make the remaining races. But Dino has not had quite the same performance or form that Maybe has had. If Maybe can open up a nice cushion against Dino, he should be able to hold on to the points lead. Remember, Dino and Maybe were 2 of the 3 drivers that went down to the last race of the season in IFEA's NASCAR Championship a few months back. And that season was decided by a last lap overtake for the win at Miami. So every point counts and every position counts, and if drivers start missing races, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble in the title fight overall. Teams fight seems to already be pretty much locked up though, simply because the Ford entrants seem to be the only team that are really locked in for these events here. So when it comes to the tires choice of today's event, most drivers will likely be running the soft option tires. However, the soft tires do have a bit of a fall off issue, and there may be an issue with maintaining pace on worn out soft tires in the last 3 or 4 laps of the run. Medium tires can go into the 30s, and if you want to try and make this a 2-stop race, medium tires would be the tires you'd want to run with. The big thing though is that the medium tires are going to be significantly slower, and if you're not able to go completely flat and maintain time in someone else's draft on the medium tires, it's just not going to give you, it's not likely to give you much of an advantage. Again, with a 29-lap fuel tank, if you wanted to make this a 2-stop race, you'd want to pit around lap 34 and then 68. All right, so as they start to get the grid lined up, we're going to go ahead and try to knock out an ad break, and when we come back, we should be underway for racing here at the Indy 250. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Indianapolis as you're looking at what the starting order for today's race is roughly going to look like. Jack Broseph on the pole, maybe racing second, Fraught Meteor third. Row 2 will have GTA Flakbus, Prius Killer, 8110, and Amish Gaming. Row 3 will be Dino Prime, TNR Larry B, and Pindaz. Row 4 will be Thomas, Kneesmorphed, and Thunder, 8159. Row 5 will be GGA Design, SDR Jamora, and Keen Racing Leo 1. And then row 6 will just be made up of 2 cars, Kuro Shine and Forza Man R8. Again, BWT Magnesium is going to be doing pace car duties for today's event as they finally get to load onto the circuit here. We'll try to keep conversation to a minimum, I should say, while they are doing their 3-wide parade lap, but we will cut in likely around the time they go through turns 3 and 4. But we will keep conversation medium here so you can just kind of soak in the view. Only reason I'm quiet right now is so that way you can just kind of soak in the environment. I'll start yammering shortly. right. The action has been soaked in. It is time for everyone to calm down a little bit, catch their last bit of breath. Escar Jamora will be starting from the pit lane, I believe to serve out a penalty. But despite that, we'll still have 16 other cars taking the green flag here, all in rows of 3. Is Jack Broseph, Maybe Racing, and Front Meter at the front. Green flag! We are underway here for 250 miles at the Brickyard, and immediately Jack Broseph sails off away. The front row immediately single filed out. Jack Broseph holds the lead. It is Maybe Racing second, Front Meteor in third. A little bit farther back in the field, it looks like most of the field has already gotten into single file order. There is no playing around with trying to go 2 and 3 wide through the corners. This should be good news for some drivers, and already someone has dropped back. That is Prius Killer. It is lap 1, and Prius Killer has already had some sort of issue, has lost pace, went ghost mode, has already lost touch with the rest of the field. So already the first problematic instant in the race. But at the front, it is Jack Broseph with Maybe Racing coming up. Got a big draft run. Are they going to try and poke to the inside going into turn 1? Nothing, not that time at least. They fire out. And down the back straightaway now. Dramora seems to have caught back up to at least the likes of Prius Killer and King Racing Leo at the back of the grid, so his penalty seems to have already been resolved. But here at the front is Jack Broseph and Maybe Racing. Maybe won last week's event at Grand Oak. Oh, and Jack Broseph slaps the outside wall, and he's into the inside wall. He's into the pits. Is the car damaged? The car is destroyed. He wrecks out of the lead. And now it is Maybe Racing at the front. No, it is GGA Flak Bus. Maybe Racing must have backed out to have not hit Broseph, and now Maybe has slipped back behind the GGA Flak Bus. So a very unanticipated change here at the front of the grid early on here. King Racing Leo has dropped back to about 11 seconds behind the lead, but most of the rest of the field are still relatively close to each other right now. So Maybe has yet to lead at the line. He now pulls up behind GGA Flak Bus as they fly down the front straightaway. 2 cars slap the outside wall farther back, but I think we'll stay green for now. And already, if you see coming out of pit lane, that is Jack Broseph. So a pit stop here will put you an entire lap down, basically. So Broseph goes from leading to a lap down early on here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Flak Bus and Maybe Racing both have a 2-second lead over the rest of the field right now. Amish Gaming is a distant third. Front Meter is fourth. Dino Prime has moved his way into fifth. Thomas is 6th and Larry is 7th. As I say that, Thomas and Dino are having a bit of a squabble, and Dino now falls back to the 7th position. So he seems to be struggling with whatever it is in the car. I don't know if it's a setup issue or what. And there's 2 more drivers smashing the outside wall farther back. But it doesn't look like they pulled off, so I imagine we should be able to stay green. But Kuroshine may have had some sort of incident. They are running incredibly slow, and their car is destroyed. So another driver having an accident early on here, and will drop them back numerous positions. But back at the front of the field is GGA Flak Bus leading Maybe Racing right now. Again, the big thing to consider is that you want to balance going faster from the really lightweight cars against going longer and cutting out a potential pit stop. Side by side for a lead. Flak Bus inside, Maybe outside, Maybe drops the brake just a bit and falls back in line behind Flak Bus. I will just run in their draft for a little bit longer here. This duo maintains roughly a 2-second lead over this driver here, Amish Gaming, one of Maybe's teammates here in the Moto car, and the rest of the field is all starting to spread out. You have to go back to about 5th until you start seeing the field get tucked up again into a nice little pack. Dino is only about a half second ahead of Neesmorph. Neesmorph has Thomas right behind him. Then right behind Thomas is Larry, and then right behind Larry is Pindaz, your series host. As we ride on board with Pindaz, as we watch them go side by side farther up the road for the 6th and 7th position here. Pindaz is a little bit too far back to take immediate advantage. Prius Killer is already a result position. He's cutting his way back up to the grid. He's up into the 10th spot right now. Bit of a green flag run here to start us off. And Indianapolis, as I say that, there's an accident, and there's 2 cars in the outside wall, and that was Thomas and Larry, both with an accident. And that will likely total both their cars. Larry's machine is destroyed outside of the engine, and for Thomas, it is going to be a similar scenario. Actually, he has a little bit less damage, but that will be the first accident of the day, and we will likely see the field go under yellow flag conditions for that. So an early accident here at Indianapolis, and Flag Bus briefly overtakes the pace car. It'll take a little bit for the field to get properly caught up and in order, and while they do that, we're going to knock out an ad break. We'll be back shortly here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's a lot of people who elected to pit. Christ. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Our leaders have stayed out on track, but a lot of drivers in the midfield have elected to come into the pits. So the top 7 will be on older tires that they started the race on, also a lighter fuel load. But we're looking at the likes of Amish Gaming, Dino Prime, Neesmorphs, Forza Man, Prius Killer, Thunder, all pitted. And then Larry also had to pit as well because he needed to repair damage. Thomas repaired the damage to his car the lap before. I imagine he'll be required to stay behind the drivers ahead. Jack Broseph is really the big winner in all this. He was leading, then went into the wall solo, and the car was spat into pit road in the process. And he went a lap down. This yellow flag will have put him back onto the lead lap now. And for everyone who has made a stop, they're committing to what is going to be a 3-stop strategy. But I imagine most drivers here are looking at a 3-stop strategy, but they will have committed to what is a 3-stop strategy with their first stop already done. They have to go roughly 90 laps, about 91 laps on 2 more stops. You do the math, you would have to stretch the fuel tank out about 31 laps. And I'm going to be honest, I think that's very much doable. About 30 laps, honestly. And if you just save a little bit of fuel here and there, just lifting close in the draft, you can absolutely save an entire lap or 2 here. So those drivers who have already pitted on a 2-stop strategy, but they'll be going long. Pace car still out on the circuit, and the entire field has just about caught up. I see one more driver farther back coming into the pits, and that seems to be Jack Broseph, who is coming into the pits now. So we should be going green at the end of, it will say lap 12, but really, realistically, it will be the end of lap 10 here at Indianapolis. So Larry and Thomas fighting for a position in the upper midfield have a bit of an accident going through turn 2 while Thomas was side by side with, I believe it was Dino. He had a little bit of an incident and went into the wall, and there was nowhere for Larry to go. He got caught up. Both drivers stay on the lead lap for the moment. Your leader is GGA Flackbus. He has led the majority of the race thus far. The first 2 racing laps were led by Jack Broseph, but then he got shunted into the wall. Baby was second. He backed off so as to not hit Jack Broseph, and gave Flackbus the chance to go right by Maybe and go into the lead. But the interesting thing is that when it comes to the fuel amount, Flackbus is down to 66% in the fuel tank. Maybe Racing, who is second, is currently running with 75%. So a significant difference when it comes to the fuel load between our top two drivers. The other thing to consider is that some drivers will be experiencing right front wear more, some drivers will be experiencing right rear wear more. If your right rear tire is wearing more, that could really cause you some issues here when it comes to handling in the later stages of the race. Will make the car want to snap around and go rear end into the outside wall. Alright, pace car has run off. When will Flag Bus hit the green flag and go? The field is waiting on him to accelerate, and maybe will have to react. Fraught Meteor, who qualified third, still runs in third as well. And we're off. You can hear them going. Movement already farther back in the field, but looks like Flag Bus and Maybe have already pulled a little bit of a gap on Fraught Meteor before they even get to turn one, and there is all sorts of chaos. They are 4 and 5 wide back here in the midfield. Dino is down into the dirt so as to not hit other drivers, and he's gonna get jumped all the way to the rear of the pack in the process. Just trying to ignore the absolute chaos is basically the top 6 kind of pulled away on their own. These are the drivers also that all have lighter fuel loads, so I wonder if that may have had something to do with it. All these drivers here in the top 6 have less fuel in their cars. They should, and design slaps the outside wall. But these cars in the front have lighter fuel load. Maybe that was the big thing that has let them pull away already. We're looking at a 3-second gap alone between 6th and 7th position. And at the front, it is Flag Bus, Maybe, and Fraught Meteor. This trio continues to hold a breakaway over the rest of the field. Now Maybe looks to the inside. He's gonna commit to a move, not quite. He just wants to hang out behind, just wants to run the draft of Flag Bus. Maybe likely going to try and stretch this fuel tank as far as possible. Might be trying to make this a 2-stop. If you just want to run in someone's draft all day long, I don't think you could save 5 whole laps of fuel, but we did just run a few laps under caution. It would make it a lot easier for Maybe to go into what we believe would be lap 34. Alright, so already Prius Killer has moved to the front of that big mess of cars from 7th on back, and will try to start running the gap down between themselves and GZA Design. It is at the top 5, Flag Bus, Maybe Racing, Fraught Meteor, Pindaz, and SDR Dremora. Pindaz and Dremora kind of in no man's land, about 3 seconds out of this 3-way breakaway at the lead, and honestly, Fraught Meteor seems to be having a little bit of trouble keeping up with the top 2 as well right now. It is just Flag Bus and Maybe at the head of this field. Again, we talked about that big pack of cars. These are all drivers who had, I believe all of them except one, are drivers who pitted on that yellow flag. And I have to imagine that how that extra weight in the car from the fuel is the big thing that really slowed them down, causing them to get snookered. And now they're trying to make their way back into the field. Leading that group is Prius Killer, as he is looking at GZA Design up the road a bit. And here's a fight between Dremora and Pindaz. It is a drag race between these two. Pindaz outside, Dremora inside. Side by side as they head into turn number 3. And having the tighter inside line should give Dremora the room. It does. And Dremora clears Pindaz, and Dremora moves up into the 4th position. And over the last few months, probably I would say about since this year has started, I have definitely noticed an improvement in SDR Dremora's form across many of the races. He has been a lot less mistake prone, has been a lot quicker on his feet, a lot more punchier. It is honestly nice to see a veteran in the Forza franchise be able to find a bit of a reformation of form at this stage in his career. A little bit farther back, Prius Killer is only about 7/10 out from this fight now. So despite being slow initially on the restart, Prius is absolutely flying and running down the gap between himself and 4th and 5th. But the lead is still Flag Bus, Maybe, and Fraught Meteor, and they are maintaining their advantage. Basically, Flag Bus and Maybe are just destroying the rest of the field in overall distance right now. You see Pindaz taking what's sometimes known as the dragon line and trying to take that extreme inside to try and block Dremora from having any draft. But he should be more concerned about Prius, because Prius is coming up to Dremora. He gets right behind the rear attenuator of Dremora's car, nose to tail for 4th, 5th, and 6th on the back straightaway. Prius looks to the inside, he backs out of the crowd just a bit. He is not going to push the issue here. He's going to let Dremora try and soften Pindaz up for him. Dremora inside, Pindaz outside, side by side to turn 4. It is going for Prius. He's going to have to let out just a little bit, and he's going to get to the outside of Dremora. Now he has a run on Pindaz. Pindaz goes slow to block Dremora. That lets Prius get a huge run. Pindaz tries to block Prius. Not enough. Prius to the are going to get eaten up by the rest of this field. Here comes Larry, who was involved in that big incident earlier. Larry has already moved up into the 5th position. He's disposed of them. Here comes Amish Gaming as well. So already these drivers who are on older tires are finding themselves falling backwards to the drivers on the newer tires, but the top 2 continue to gap the rest of the field. The leader is Flak Bus. He's at 48% wear on that right rear tire. Second place is Maybe Racing, running in their draft. Maybe is at 49% on that right rear tire. He's at 51% fuel, and that's the big thing to watch. The right rear tire wear, the right rear tire seems to be the one that is falling apart the quickest on this setup. Forza Man R8 now comes into the pits. But the right rear tire seems to be the tire that is falling apart the quickest on this Spec Tune. Again, this is a Spec Tune series, so no one seems to be able to get around that issue with the right rear tire burning up. How are these 2 leaders going to handle once that tire starts going away? It will make the rear end want to slide out and back into the wall. But for the moment, these 2 have a great draft train hooked up, and they continue to pull away from the rest of the field. Front Meteor is 3 seconds behind, and Prius is still 8 seconds behind. So Prius has actually lost time to these 2. Yes, he was in that big pack that had a bad start, but he is continuing to lose time to this lead duo at the front here. It is Flak Bus leading Maybe Racing at the head of the pack here. Down the front straightaway, they'll start, well, say lap 22 in the corner, but will really be the 20th lap of the race. The Forza Man R8 is the first driver to go a lap down on this run. King Racing Leo will be the first driver who would possibly be put down a lap on merit. We have a bit of a fight going on for 5th. This is TNR Larry B, Amish Gaming, and Jack Broseph is just a little bit farther back from this here. So Larry, not worried about being involved in an incident earlier. He is head down and cutting his way through the field. Already in 5th position, about a 2nd and a 3rd out from Prius Killer, and now Amish trying to hook up with Larry and trying to get a good draft off of that yellow diehard machine farther up. Now we see Niesmorph coming into the pits farther up the grid here. Crop Meteor has now fallen to 4 seconds out of the lead now. And here comes the battle. Larry outside, Amish inside, and Amish will clear Larry through turn 3. Can't really go side by side confidently in these corners and maintain speed. So every time these 2 trade positions in the corners, you're just going to let Prius open up the gap on them a little more, and they run the risk of being caught by the likes of Jack Broseph farther back. Now we see GGA Design and these more, well, we see GGA Design coming back into the pits now. No movement at the front. Maybe has not shown any desire to try and get around Flak Bus. But the big thing we're interested in is the tire life. 63% already for Flak Bus on that right rear. How much longer is he going to be able to push that right rear? They're going to go around the outside of King Racing Leo, clear him without too much issue. Maybe has a little bit more issue getting around King Racing Leo, but with the draft to Flak Bus, it doesn't really harm them at all. They are 9.5 seconds ahead of 4th place Prius Killer, who is basically a pit stop ahead if this ends up being a 3-stop race. But I have to wonder, is this pair of drivers, are they trying to make it a 2-stop? Are they just going to commit to the tires that are falling off and just deal with the tires? Here comes Flak Bus. He's going to come into the pit this lap. Okay, so Flak Bus said, no more, I can't take it. He's still got 21% in the tank, but he's at 65% in that right rear, and he is pitting now. So Maybe Racing finally will lead his first laps of the day. But again, that right rear tire is at 67% wear. He still has a third of the fuel left in the tank, but the confusion and the concern is about the wear on the right rear tire. Also, Flak Bus, Dremora, Kuroshine, and Thomas all pitted as well. Now, Thomas may have pit for different reasons, so did Kuroshine, but Flak Bus and Dremora did not pit under the yellow flag, so their tires are burning up as well. So Maybe Racing, how much farther are they going to go on this run of tires? Can they make it a 2-stop race? If they can make it a 2-stop race, if they can stretch this stint out to 34 laps and stretch all the remaining stints of this race out to 34 laps, they would very easily take home the win. by almost an entire lap, because a pit stop here in the green will put you an entire lap down. As you can see, everyone from 10th on back is now a lap down. Flagbus has ended up well behind Maybe Racing at this stage of the event. Front Meteor, who also has yet to make his first stop, but I believe that Front Meteor is running on medium tires right now, and is able to push those tires a lot farther. But I think getting to lap 34 should be much easier, and Maybe Racing is coming to the pits on only lap 27. And the fuel tank is anticipated to be able to go 29 full-fledged laps. Now, he had 2 laps of yellow to start the race out, the parade laps, and then we've had about 3 laps of yellow after an accident earlier. But Front Meteor is going nice and long on this stint. I believe, at least maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that Front Meteor did not hit. I think he restarted 3rd. Still on the same set of tires he started on. I believe he's on the medium tires, and now he is well ahead of the majority of the field. My curiosity is going to be, where is Maybe? Maybe is still coming out of pit lane right now, starting to accelerate up through the gears. But you are required to use the proper pit in and out lane here, and that's going to be one of the big things to slow you down. But Maybe, where are they going to end up in relation to Front Meteor? They are still ahead of Front Meteor. Flagbus also has gotten a lap back after Maybe has pitted, and Flagbus is still ahead of Front Meteor for the moment. So Maybe still on the lead lap right now. Front Meteor, can they go 34 laps on a set of tires? Oh no, that's only 29 laps. That's not looking good. Front Meteor now comes in. They still have 15% in the fuel tank, but those tires hit 50%, and he said, no more. So now the lead goes to Prius Killer, who started up near the front, but had some sort of issue lap 1, fell to the rear of the grid, and has been slowly making his way up to the grid. He is now in first. Pindaz also is joining Front Meteor in the pits. So as we see our leaders pits, those drivers who stayed out earlier, they're going to get laps back. But I think all those drivers who have pitted have now officially admitted that this is going to be a 3-stop race. There's no way you can make the entire 250 miles on just 2 stops. And on the 3-stop strategy, well, Prius was one of many drivers who made his stop under the yellow flag. He is just, I guess you could math that out to he is roughly half a lap ahead of the majority of the field, if not a little more. He is leading on this strategy, which I would call strategy alpha right now, the primary strategy for today's event. Larry B only runs about 8/10 out from Prius Killer right now. Larry is at 58% wear on those tires. Prius Killer, who's just a little bit ahead of him, is at 57% wear. Prius has more fuel in the tank. Larry, by virtue of having less fuel in the tank, should be able to go much faster in the corners, but he is going to be running out of time to try and catch Prius and do anything to him. And that's the other thing to consider. If this ends up being a race where you want to minimize the amount of time on pit lane, maybe it would be better to be overfueled and be slower than to be underfueled, be fast, but have to make an extra stop. We are under a relatively long green flag run. This is the longest green flag run we have had thus far today, about 20 laps worth of green flag racing. And the strategy game has really opened up right now. Larry continues to run about 8/10 behind Prius. But tire life is the other big question. What is Prius's tires going to look like? What are Larry's tires going to look like? And when they pit, where are they going to end up in relation to the likes of Maybe Racing, who has only pitted a few laps ago and will be in the lead of what would be the beta strategy, strategy B basically. Maybe and Flagbus have caught each other again, and now Maybe once again is hanging out behind Flagbus. Now look at this, Maybe is currently at 85% in the fuel tank. We look at Flagbus, who is just ahead. They are at 78% in the fuel tank. So what does this mean for their strategy? Well, the big thing to consider is that with Flagbus being a little bit lighter in the fuel load, that car will be faster and nimbler in the corners. But he's not going to be so fast and nimble that he's going to blow away Maybe in the straights. Maybe will be able to suck back up on the straightaways and basically close the gap down. So Maybe is basically getting the advantage of running a lower fuel load by running in Flagbus's draft and not pressuring him while still extending his overall fuel numbers. Still, Maybe is not looking like they're in a position to make this a 2-stop race because of how early they made their first stop. I think Maybe is still locked in to what is overall a 3-stop race. They are going to have to hope that they just have ridiculous pace or maybe some yellows to bunch the field back up so they can actually make moves through the grid right now. All right, Larry has now fallen to a little bit more than a second out from our leader, Prius Killer. You look at that right rear tire is at 68% wear. You look at the fuel load, 4.5. So he can probably do this lap and one more Yeah, and Amish Gaming is pitting out of third position now. So all those drivers who pit into the yellow are now all starting to pit at different times as we speak. When will Prius Killer, who is your leader, he's got a nice big fuel tank still. When is he going to pit? When will the tires get too bad for him? He is almost at 70% wear, and he will be coming up on some traffic sooner rather than later. Third place right now is Dino Prime, who is running with Yak Brosov. Dino is at 22%, so he also has a lot of fuel left in the tank. This is Yak Brosov, who is running fourth. He is at 70% where he also has a bunch of fuel in the tank. Here comes Larry. Here comes Dino. Here comes Jack Brosov. They're all going to pit on lap 36. So these drivers are only able to go about 26 laps on a set of soft tires, it would appear. And Prius Killer still leads for the moment. He is confident enough to push his tires a little bit farther. He is at 72% wear on that right rear. His left rear is at 60%. His right front is at 70% just about. He only has 8% left in the fuel tank right now. Prius is the only driver who pitted under the yellow who has not yet made his second stop. I think we were talking about a 3-stop race. This is looking like it could end up being a 4-stop race today. GTA Design slaps the outside wall and comes in the pits. Now we see Prius going down the line here. He's at lap 37 now. So you do the math. There's about 65 laps left in Prius's race. If he pits this lap and can make his remaining stints go about 32 laps, he would still be able to make it only a 3-stop race. But he is going to be hemorrhaging time right now. He has fuel, but tire life is the big problem. You can audibly hear he is lifting out in the corners. He can't make the corners. He's coming in now. So now the question is, can Prius make it about 32 to 33 laps for both of his remaining stints? No one else has been able to do it. It's not been a matter of fuel. It seems to be a matter of tires today. So, now the focus goes to GTA Flak Bus and Maybe Racing. They will re-inherit the lead after all this is over. Although Prius still has a good chunk of distance over them, it should be this duo who will inherit the lead over Prius. So it seems like it is Prius on his strategy versus Flak Bus and Maybe, with Larry B an outside threat for this win. Larry has been faster than Prius, but he's not able to go as deep into the run as Prius is. But this duo has not been able to go super deep into the fuel and tire run either. And if tires are the big issue, we could be looking at a 4-stop race instead of a 3-stop race. I don't think anyone was preparing for a strategy to run on 4 pit stops here today. Everyone's strategy seemed to be a simple 3-stop affair. You run the tires, you run the fuel about 29 laps, and you just make a short stop later on. But if everyone's going to have to cram an extra pit stop in because of how bad the tires are falling off, that really could upend everything because you lose almost an entire lap in pit road. Okay, so after pit stops are done, Larry has actually ended up about 2.5 seconds ahead of Prius. But the big difference is Larry has already burned up his tires, burned up his fuel a little bit. Prius is a little bit farther back, but he's going to have fresher tires and should have, well, he's got 85% in the tank. Is Larry rating the same amount in the tank, actually? No, Larry is almost 20% left in the fuel tank right now. As we are under a really long green flag run. But it looks like most of the strategy has resolved itself, and GTA Design has dropped out of the event, the first DNF of the race. We're going to try and reach out to GTA Design, see if he has anything he wants to say about his run out here. Right now, everyone is still on the lead lap except for Keen Racing Leo, but Forza Man RA is at threat of going a lap down sooner rather than later, although it seems like the game's glitched out and has made his car look like it's submarine, and I do apologize for that. But at the front, Maybe Racing, trying to utilize Flak Bus to save extra fuel and go nice and long on his runs, but Maybe has not shown confidence in being able to make the tires run a long period of time. We're going to knock out an ad break here in this moment of calm. We'll be back shortly here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. While we were away, SDR Dremora and Forza Man R8, the next two drivers were poised to go a lap down, had an instant going through turns 1 and 2. Dremora hit the outside wall and totaled his car. Forza Man had a spin, slid across the track, and lightly tapped the outside wall, but didn't have any damage. But Forza Man ran out of fuel almost right afterwards. So that has put Dremora and Forza Man 2 laps down at this stage of the race. Everyone else ahead of them in the top 13 are still running on the lead lap right now, though. But again, the focus has been on tire life. The right rear tires have not really been lasting super long. Flackbus is at 36% on his right rear. Maybe Racing, who is running in second, is at 32% on their right rear. Maybe is trying to just run in Flackbus's draft to extend their fuel load, but it looks like they're still committed to a 3-stop strategy. Farther back, Larry B, who pitted under the only yellow flag we've had thus far, he is up to 4th position. He has 26% wear on the tires. With the rate that he is burning for fuel, he'll get to about 50 or so, I imagine, 50% before having to pit. And then the man that he overtook, who should be able to go even farther on the fuel and tire run, he's only at 21% tire wear and still has a decent amount of fuel, and he's running Jack Brosep's draft, so might be able to make something happen there if he just saves enough fuel. But the strategy seems to have kind of piecemealed into 2 different and distinct setups right now, as we see Kuroshine going ahead and pitting now, and that will put them a lap down at this stage of the event. Not yet halfway through here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Front Meteor has cycled back into the 3rd position. Reminder, Front Meteor went a little longer than our current leaders earlier in the event. But I don't think they're running medium tires right now. I imagine they are running softs due to the rate that their tire wear is picking up. So Front Meteor will still likely have to pit well before lap 64. And again, 64 is only the magic number if you can go about, 68 is only the magic number if you can go about 34 laps on a fuel tank. If you cannot do 34 laps on a tank because the tires being such an issue, that number means nothing, and it's just going to be a matter of being fortunate and being lucky here. All right, so we now see Thomas is going to go a lap down now, as he has been caught by the lead group. Does not put any big issue to our 2 leaders, but he is now caught by Neesmorph, who had just went a lap down a little bit ago, and Thunder, who went the outside line so as not to block the leaders, ends up letting Neesmorph by in the process, and is actually going to lose the draft on Neesmorph in the process. Neesmorph, in an interesting scenario, he's actually in a position where he can run in the draft to the leaders a little bit to extend his own run. And now we see Jack Broseph in the pits again. Is there damage on this car? No damage. No, there is engine damage. That is a lot of engine damage. So there may have been a misshift or something, but that will shut Jack Broseph out of the lead lap. So Dino Prime and Prius Killer are having a bit of a fight here for 5th position, and it looks like Prius has the advantage over Dino. Prius has fresher tires. Dino should have less fuel in the tank, though, and both of them are starting to run down Larry B just a little bit, who is leading on their strategy, but will be pitting a little bit earlier than Prius. And both Larry and Prius are only a little less than 9 seconds out of Flackbus and Maybe. So this big gap that this duo pulled out early on from the initial restart seems to have stalled out at about 7 to 9 seconds. They've not really been able to absolutely blitz away the field lap after lap anymore since then. So now it may just come down to a strategy fight. Who's got the winning strategy? Will it be Flackbus and Maybe, or will it be the likes of Larry B and Prius Killer? Although Dino's currently running ahead of Prius and will likely upset Prius's chances at doing anything there. Again, for Maybe trying to open up a big fight, a big lead in the championship, that's the other thing. Maybe is not guaranteed to make their main races this season. They already have 2 wins on the year. If they could make it 3 wins early on, they could make their points lead so massive that even if they miss a race or 2, Dino Prime, who is more likely to make all the remaining races in the year, will not be able to overtake them. Flackbus continues to hold station over Maybe, just about nose to tail. As we are halfway through the race, 48% on that right rear. We saw these drivers push it out to about 68% before they eventually gave up and ducked into the pits. I wonder if this time Flakbus is running on medium tires, because he is going to run out of fuel, I think, before his tires get anywhere close to that issue. Maybe Racing might be in a similar position. Their tires are also still in a relatively decent position, and they are not really pushing away from the rest of the field. So are they trying to go nice and long on the fuel run now with medium tires and just use the reduction in pace to push the fuel numbers out? Again, the big thing though is that you would want, if you want to make this race on only one more stop, you want to go to lap 68. They have 22% left in Baby's tank. You have 16 laps until you get to lap 68. If you want to make that lap 6 your next stop, your last stop, maybe you would have to be burning a little less than 2%. Honestly, closer to about 1.5% of his fuel load every lap for the rest of this run, and then obviously would have to do it shortly afterward. He's more pits farther back now. He has lost the leader, and he goes ahead and pits finally. So this duo will likely have to pit again before we get to lap 60, and then if we continue to stay green to the end of this race, they'll likely have to do a splash and go, maybe with about 10 to 20 laps left in the event. For the likes of TNR Larry B, Prius Killer, and maybe Dino, it might be a little easier for them to make it to that mystical lap 68, but they have not shown the ability to have the confidence in their tires to go that far. Although I imagine Larry might be trying to do something like that right now. He has track position, and Prius is not really closed on him anymore. The gap between Larry and Prius seems to be stuck at about a second and a half to a second and a third. Well, now it's opened up to 2 seconds. So I think Larry has the number. If anything, Larry is setting himself up to walk off with the win here on strategy, but that's only if he is confident with the tires and is willing to push them. But he's already at 54%. Reminder, he pitted earlier, well, he pitted later than Maybe and Flakbus, and Maybe has actually cycled ahead of Flakbus. That's interesting, and Flakbus is coming into the pits. That likely has something to do with it here. But what did Flakbus get his tire life to? 55%. He only had 3.3% left in the tank. So Maybe Racing staying out. But now they have caught the draft of another lapped car. That is Thomas. Yes, actually, Thomas is not technically a lap down yet. So maybe trying to further extend the fuel load running in Thomas's draft, as Flakbus will likely fall off of the lead lap now. How much longer will Maybe be able to stay on track here? Tires do not seem to be the issue. I think that these drivers have gone to the medium tire compound, a harder tire, so they can go farther on the fuel, but still, it's not looking good for them. The big thing, though, is that right now, Larry, who is in third, is not looking that great either, because while he has the fuel, he doesn't have a lot more fuel. He's not going to hit that mystical lap 68, and his tires are falling off as well. If anything, TNR Larry B and Maybe are about to likely pit on the same lap, and Maybe still has a gigantic advantage over Larry. I think that while Larry may be the fastest driver on track, he is going to get snookered in overall strategy by Maybe Racing, and to a lesser extent, GTA Flakbus, as Maybe and Flakbus have run an entire stint on mediums, and they may choose to do so again, or they may choose to run the rest of this race on just 2 stints on the soft tires. Larry has not closed enough in this run to change anything. So Front Meteor now pits out of second position. So Larry moves into second overall. Amish Gaming also pits, and so does Thomas. So this means that for the moment now, Maybe is all by himself on the racetrack. How much fuel does he have left? 5.6, 5.5. So he'll likely pit this lap. Maybe can push out one more lap here, but I imagine he'll be pitting this time by. But Larry's only going to be able to stay out for another lap or 2 at best before pitting as well. And no, Maybe is staying out here. So Maybe is going to stay out for another lap, really trying to maximize the advantage of running with a really light fuel load in the car. He's at 3.6% at the line. How much is he going to burn up in an entire lap here? Thomas comes out of the pits, but he's already a lap down to Maybe here. He's at 3.6 of the line. He's already at 2.2% halfway around. So if you burn about 1.2% in a lap, he'll be, well, he's burning a lot more than that, honestly. He's going to be at 1 flat. So he's burning about 1.9 to 2% in the fuel, about 2.9 to 3% in the fuel tank per lap. And Larry has pitted at the same time as Maybe, but look who's gone longer. It is Prius Killer. who is staying out longer. His tires, though, do not have a lot of life left in them, and he still has 19% left in the tank, but those tires are not looking good. He is going to be hemorrhaging time. The undercut is giving you track position, but the overcut may work in your favor if you can shorten the pit stop later. The thing is, though, I feel like Prius needed to be running on medium tires to really get the advantage of that, but he's not. Maybe he is already back on track and is only 25 seconds behind Prius right now. Although that gap is slowly growing, it's going to stop growing relatively shortly here. And again, Prius is going to have to pit sooner rather than later, and we have a caution. We have a yellow flag, but we're trying to figure out what happened here. So many drivers are laps down right now. I have no idea what's happening. It says a Forza man has to pit, so maybe he was... No, he is not. In fact, if anything, he's just gotten a free pit stop. Don't know how that's happened. Well, Prius Killer had a gigantic lead over the rest of the field, but now it's going to be completely wiped out. And he's going to have a very small fuel and tire advantage, but it is going to be mostly negated by having a massive track position disadvantage. If anything, it is now going to be maybe Racing and Larry B who will now be fighting for this race win here. Yes, the two of them likely for the rest of this event. Oh, is that is weird. A little bit of bumper cars by lap cars holding the extreme outside line. It's going to take a long time to figure out where everyone is on track. That's Forza R8, man. We're going to knock out an ad break as everyone's trying to figure out where exactly everyone is on the track. We'll be back shortly here at Indianapolis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The inside line drivers are the 6 drivers still on the lead lap. The outside drivers are all drivers a lap down. Pit road is open, but only one of our leaders, that is Prius Killer, is going to pit. And at the same time, all these drivers who are a lap down or more than one lap down will be able to run around and get a lap back and cycle back to the rear of the grid here, although they will still be behind Prius Killer. So Prius, it may not be completely over for him. He'll still be in the top 6, but he'll have a heavier fuel load, but he will have fresher tires. For the drivers who are now going to inherit the lead, Maybe and Larry now basically have ended up on the same strategy. Maybe has 94% in the fuel tank, 4.1% wear on the tires. Larry B, who is just a little bit behind, is at 73% in the fuel tank and 6.8% on the tires. Then, third place, GGA Flackbus, who has been, the driver maybe has been drafting behind most of this race. He's at 81% in the fuel, 11.8% in the tires. Fourth place is Dino, who is hanging out in the lead lap, but not really a factor for this win. He has 94% in the fuel tank, 6.8% in the tires. 5th place is Fraught Meteor. He was ranked as high as 3rd and actually led laps early on. He is at 88% in the fuel tank, 8% on the tires. And then the driver who's just come out of pit lane is Prius Killer. He is at 70% in the fuel, 1% in the tires. Now, we are looking at 40 laps to go. As it stands right now, none of these drivers are in a position to make it to the end, even if they just made a stop. You cannot take a 29-lap fuel tank 40 laps. Even if you could, the tires would not handle it even on the hardest tire compound. So, everyone is guaranteed to make one more stop. The question is going to be, when do you want to make your next stop? I would argue that the best time to make your next stop would be on lap 82. Split through the remaining 40 laps, dead in half, run 20 laps now, run 20 laps to the end. That way you're running a slightly smaller fuel load, and you don't have to worry about soft tires falling off. In the case of Prius Killer, this could be a modest strategy windfall. He's got a track position disadvantage though, but he may have a tire and fuel advantage and might be able to parlay that into an overall advantage on track. But he's not just going to be able to hang out here and let the race come to him. He has to get out there, get elbows out, and make overtakes on the circuit. The favorites to win right now, I would argue, are still Maybe Racing and Larry B. The big thing though is that if they are on medium tires, which we believe they might be, and we have Prius who is on soft tires, Prius should be able to catch them and pass them a little easier. But again, it's not been tire life that has been the big defining thing throughout this race. It has been the amount of fuel in the car. Tires don't really seem to be an issue until you get to about the 65 to 68% wear mark here. Also, after all is said and done, we now have our top 10 drivers on the lead lap. So Pindaz, Thomas, Amish, and Jack Brosov all back on the lead lap at this stage of the event. Thunder, still a lap down. Forza Man R8, still a lap down, but he was able to cheat a free pit stop out of it all, but he is still a lap down. Kuroshine, still a lap down. Neesmore, still a lap down. Dramora and King Racing Leo both are still 2 laps down at this stage of the event. And we will be going green this time. So maybe Racing does not have Flak Bus ahead to work with. He's going to have to deal with Larry B. These two on alternate strategies will have to fight on merit. And the big question is Prius. He's back in 6th. When will he be able to go, and will he be able to make moves and get to the front? Prius may still have a strategy win, but he has to make overtakes on track to make it happen. Otherwise, it will be maybe versus Larry to the win here. Out of the final corner. We'll see them accelerate momentarily. And we are off. And maybe goes to the inside and has completely snookered Larry. Larry was not prepared for that at all. If anything, Larry is under threat from Flak Bus immediately. You're already 2 and 3 wide farther back there. And the field is back under the yellow. So was that an aborted start? Well, they definitely got up and went, and then pulled it back, so that may have been an aborted start. So they will try again, and that's got to be so frustrating for the likes of Prius. He's like, come on, I need as many of these laps to run green as possible. All right, take 2 this time. It's funny, because that restart actually looked better than the initial restart we had on that lap. I believe it was lap 10 yellow flag, but apparently it wasn't good enough. The entire field's a lot closer this time. Right on board with Larry. Can he catch Maybe on this restart? Or is Maybe going to blitz away again? Oh, Maybe blitzed them again. It's not as bad this time, but Maybe absolutely has opened a gap on Larry once more. The field a lot more even throughout the entire grid. No one seems to be making any moves this time, and Flak Bus is now immediately under pressure from Dyno. So while Larry is not under pressure from behind and Maybe doesn't have any help working with them, they are going to have to fight with each other on merit. Larry runs right behind Maybe at this stage of the event. Nose to tail, down the back straightaway and into turn 3 now. Now we see the draft kicking in. Flak Bus comes in a little bit closer, so does Dino. Prius has already made his way up into 5th. And now we see Flak Bus looks to the outside, but there's no room there. Here comes Dino trying to make something happen. Top 4 all within 3/10 of each other here as they go across the start-finish line that time. Prius does not seem to be able to close in on the top 4, not for the moment. Front Meteors into the pit, something may have gone wrong for them. Oh, and that's Flak Bus slaps the outside wall, but still maintains the draft. Right on board with Dino, 4th in this Conga line at the lead. Now Flak Bus goes to the inside of Larry. Larry can't do anything to defend. Flak Bus goes back into 2nd. So Larry may be really fast on his own, but he seems to be really deep to pressure by drivers on track. Flak Bus is not the kind of driver you normally see fighting and beating someone of Larry B's caliber on track. But Larry may be a little bit not ready for a proper driver-on-driver fight. Not at the moment. Maybe it's because of the bad tire strap. Maybe it's because he's trying to save fuel. But either way, now Larry's trying to make something back against Flak Bus. Flak Bus runs Larry to the extreme inside. Flak Bus comes to the inside of Maybe Racing. Larry's trying to follow through. Trapped Maybe on the extreme outside. He knows he's hanging back, watching this all play out. Maybe slaps the outside wall. He'll go from 1st to 3rd. He gets the corner. Goes Flak Bus, who has led the most laps thus far today, has gone back into the lead already. Prius is about 2nd out of the lead right now, but he is not making that hay. He needs to. Larry looks to the inside, can't commit to it. Flak Bus holds station over Larry right now. Maybe closing back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. All just about Nose to tail. They come on turn number 2. Down the back straightaway again. Larry makes to the inside. Flak Bus. Flak Bus holds the outside. He's getting a good track to Maybe. It's bringing Maybe up in the fray. TNR and Larry B on the inside. He'll get by Flak Bus. And Flak Bus is wide. He'll go from 1st to 4th in the corner. And Flak Bus might be able to get the Prius killer very shortly here. And now the top 3 all kind of scoot away a bit. Dino slaps the outside wall a bit. Alright, so now it is Larry B and Maybe fighting at the head of this field. We know these drivers, everyone will have to make one more stop before the end of this race, but you will want to have the best possible track position before you do that. Dino just close enough to get a bit of a draft. Flak Bus has slipped back to 5th now, and Prius Killer is only about half a second out of this fight from the lead now. But Prius is not making the hay we anticipated he would. We had thought that he would be able to run up to these guys, fight with them, and go right to the lead. That has not been the case. He's got by 1 position early and just slowly closed in. But it is still 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Now it is Larry, Maybe, Dino, and Prius. And I have to wonder, is Maybe just going to run in Larry's draft, trying to save as much fuel as possible to make their final pit stop relatively late? Or are they trying to save fuel so that way when they make their pit stop, they can short fill? They don't have to put as much fuel in the tank. Prius runs really wide and slow there in turn 3, and that's going to let the top 3 get away a little bit. But something goes wrong. There's no signs of damage or anything. But at the head, it is still Larry, Maybe, and Dino, with Prius now about a second off this group. Prius went really wide. Oh, and Maybe slaps the outside wall. And no, that was Larry who slapped the outside wall. Here comes Maybe on the outside. Dino follows through. Is Larry's car okay? Is he damaged or is he able to continue? He should be able to continue. And despite that, Prius is no closer. So now it's Maybe who goes back to the lead here. About 2 months ago, I covered Tora's Indy 500. Now, they did not run these Indy cars, but a big strategy there was just to not lead laps. And I think that's what Maybe is trying to do. Maybe just does not want to lead laps at all now. We see Maybe back out of it, and lets Dino lead. So Dino will be our next newest leader of the day. Now Dino slaps the outside wall. Maybe has a huge run. Maybe goes to the inside, trying to preserve overall momentum. And Maybe will go back in front of Dino, but I would not be surprised if those positions swap again once they go down the front straightaway. And now, this time, Prius has gotten within 3/4, roughly, of the leaders. Can he get enough of a draft to get back up to them? So Maybe leads at the line again. Dino in 2nd, Larry in 3rd. When do these 3 and 4 if you want to count Prius in the fight as well. When do they make their final stop? Now Dino dives to the inside of Maybe. Maybe holds outside. Here comes Larry. What is Larry gonna do? Is Larry gonna try and follow? Larry's not close enough to follow. He stays in third, watches Dino and Maybe fight, but Maybe falls back to second as they go through turns 3 and 4 now. Riding on board with Larry once again. Prius still not close enough to get a draft off of this trio ahead of him. Still, Maybe's got another run. Larry has a bit of a hiccup, a bit of an issue. Dino now starting to open the gap along with Mary on Larry B, and Prius has caught Larry here. Dino, who's not really been making a lot of giant moves today, spent most of the day around the 5th to 8th position. Now in position to maybe fight for this win here. Flat Bus pits out 5th position. So he'll have to go about 28 laps to the end on the next set of tires. But if there's another yellow, he will be a pit stop up on the rest of the field. Dino still leads, Maybe in second, and now Larry is back in Maybe's rear lead, and Prius is back in the fray as well. Here comes Larry, going to the inside of Maybe Racing, side by side. Here comes Prius Killer just behind as well. Maybe trapped on the outside line. We'll go from second to fourth. Prius back up in the third now, and now Larry starts setting up a move on Dino Prime. Prius now looking to the inside of Larry as they go down the front straightaway. He's by! He's through! Prius finally making moves. He's up to second now. That is GGA Flat Bus coming out of pits. He will be well a lap down, way behind the leaders right now. So now Prius up into second, running right behind Dino. All 4 of these drivers seem to be the drivers to watch to fight for the win here. Dino inside. Prius is not going to go for an outside move. They stay nose to tail for now. When does Prius, Larry, Maybe and Dino make their final stops? I will argue that lap 82 is the magical, mystical number. Prius tucks up behind Dino. Not pushing the issue, not right now at least. He's a little bit wide in 1. The gap between himself and Dino opens. Now we see Larry taking a tighter line in turn 2. Tries to close up, but Prius has a great run out of 2. Close right back up to Dino's rear wing down the back straightaway. But a lot of drivers just do not want to be leading laps if they can help it here. And we have a caution. And there's been an accident here on the straightaway. One of the drivers involved is Thomas. Along with Kuroshine, this car is absolutely destroyed as well. So a bunch of drivers involved in this giant accident here. And strategy goes out of the window. Front Meteor, I believe, is one of the other drivers involved. Well, Front Meteor has engine damage, but doesn't look like he was involved, but still a gigantic accident. And now the strategies completely flatten out here, because we are looking at 24 laps to the end of this race. You can pit and run to the end, and the tires, while they will be hurting, they will last to the end of the race, and the fuel will not be an issue. So all strategy is flattened out. The big wild card in this is going to be GTA Flat Bus. He will get a lap back, but I think he'll have overall a track position disadvantage here. But everyone in the top 6, I would argue right now, could be contenders, because everyone will throw on soft tires, everyone will put enough fuel in to go to the end of this race. Are we going under the red? Yeah, it looks like we are going under the red flag due to the extreme level of damage taken to the car. So while we are under the red flag, we'll knock out an ad break. We'll be back shortly here at Indianapolis. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we are under a red flag after a massive accident going down the front straightaway into turn 1. Sadly, we did not catch it on broadcast, but about 5 cars were completely totaled in the affair. The field just about all gathered up right now, so we should be going green very shortly here, I would imagine. This is our 3rd yellow flag of the day and the only red flag we've had thus far. For those of you who have not been with us as the pace car begins to run, we are on board with the pace car. The pace car begins to run. Pole sitter for today's race was Jack Broseph. Broseph slapped the wall on lap 2 and went into the pits and has been kind of irrelevant most of the race since. It has been Maybe Racing running second behind Flackbus. Flackbus has led the most laps today, but Maybe has been probably the fastest car. For a while, we saw Larry and Prius and to a lesser extent Dino running on alternate strategies that would put them in a different scenario, but we had a yellow flag around lap 62 that put everyone on the same strategy. Prius was on slightly different strategy. He had less fuel and slightly better tires, but everyone knew they had to make one more stop to the end. And there were 4-car breakaway. Dino, Prius, Larry, and Maybe. And then that, and Dino is not pitting. Well, that's interesting. Dino is electing not to pit on this yellow flag. But everyone else who is on the lead lap is pitting. So Dino has got that Alan Gustafson crew chief scenario, it would appear. So Dino not pitting. There are still 23 laps left in this event. And his rear tire is already at 50% wear, but Dino has elected not to pit. So I guess Dino has gotten the Alan Gustafson crew chief experience here. Now, after all this is done, it looks like it is Thomas 086R who is now in second, and it will be Maybe Racing who will be third. Or maybe not. He might go back to second. Yeah, he's going to go back to second. I don't know why in the devil Dino did not pit, but even if Dino elects to pit now, he will go from first to 12th. I don't know what the strategy is here, but any chance of Dino of winning this race has been completely torpedoed. Is he betting on a bunch of yellows to the end and pitting a little later and using fresher tires and less fuel to blitz it to the end? What's happened to lead that number 77 team to make that strategy? Well, this basically affirms that will be a fight between Maybe Racing and Larry B for the win of this race. Prius is apparently behind Thomas. I'm not really sure how that's happened. And then Jack Broseph is back here in 6th. Amish Gaming is 7th. Pindaz will be 8th. Thunder will be 9th, and then GTA Flackbus trying to rush back up to the back of the grid. He will be 10th, Neesmorph will be 11th, and Front Meteor will be 12th. But what was the strategy? What is the reasoning for Dino? He's not pitting now either. So this is a strategy he is committing to. I have no idea what's going on here. He's already got worn out tires, his fuel, he's got plenty of fuel to the end, but his tires are already cooked, and he's gonna have to go 22 laps. I don't know what the strategy is here. But this all but affirms that will be Maybe Racing versus TNR Larry B to the end here with Prius in 3rd, maybe having a shot at this. Something's gone wrong with Jack Broseph. He seems to be moving forward in ghost mode right now. Well, when we go green, which we anticipate will be at the end of this lap, they'll have 22 laps to go. The fuel and the tires for everyone except Dino will easily make it to the end. Does Dino pit as the pace car comes down pit road as well to try and get on a wildly alternate strategy? I don't see how that would work. Dino had to pit with everyone else, even if he pits just as the field's coming to the green. He'll be in clean air for a long time, but he'll be still about half a lap down, if not a little more, and with no draft. I don't know what the plan is. Now, Dino is going to be setting the pace for this restart. Maybe we'll be in 2nd. TNR Larry B will be 3rd, so maybe needs to be ready for anything that Dino tries here on this initial restart. We've only had 3 yellow flags in this race. We've had plenty of nice long green flag runs throughout the day, all things considered. All right, coming out of turn 4 now. When does Dino go? And will maybe be ready for him? Because if maybe is caught lacking, it could give Larry or Prius a chance to catch him. We are off here at Indianapolis. And Dino immediately gaps Maybe. Maybe didn't even come close to being ready for Dino. But again, Maybe's fight is not with Dino now. We know Dino will have to pit again. Maybe's fight is with Larry and Prius behind him. Down the back straightaway. Maybe has the draft off of Dino. We'll try and use that to pull away just a bit. Prius seems to be losing ground to second and third place right now. Top 12, all on the lead lap, but it is realistically second, third, and fourth who are the drivers fighting for this win here. They have been the fastest drivers all day today. Down the straightaway, Maybe will easily overtake Dino, no issue whatsoever. Maybe clears and goes into the lead here. And now what about Larry? Prius has already fallen 3/4 off the lead, just does not seem to be as good on the initial restarts. Dino slaps the outside wall, but he's got a draft off of Maybe. He looks to Maybe's inside. In the process, denies Larry a shot at getting a run on him. Right on board with Larry here, going down the front straightaway. He needs to figure out a way to catch Maybe. If Dino pits and doesn't disturb Larry's line, Larry would still be in Maybe's draft and could still make something happen here. Looking at Maybe's tires, he's at 10% right now with 59% in the fuel tank. For Larry, who's in third, 68% of the fuel tank, 10% tire. So Larry has a lot more fuel in the tank right now. Doesn't have to worry about fuel saving at all. He can push a lot more aggressively. Maybe might have to do a small amount of fuel save, but if he does, it won't be very much. We're already less than 20 laps to go. Dino finally pits this lap. We still don't know what in the devil Dino's strategy was here. All these drivers are going to be able to make it to the end, and even if they're going to be a little bit close on tire life, their fuel will make it, and they will just stay out and hook it out to the end here. Dino has basically knocked himself out of the top 10 finish, and that could also kill any shot that Dino had at the championship as well. I don't know what the strategy was, but Larry's got a big run on Maybe here. Is this going to be the move, or is he going to wait? Is he just going to hang out behind Maybe? We know that you use about 3% in a lap here. And with Maybe having 54% in the tank, that would be about 3 goes into 54, 1, 7. That's about 17 laps or so. Maybe might have to do a bit of fuel saving. Now Maybe falls back behind Larry. Larry goes in the lead now. Maybe slaps the outside wall. And all the while, this duo has completely pulled away from Prius Killer. Dino is actually going to end up just with these two, but he is a lap down now. And will not be a factor. It's going to be Larry versus Maybe. Maybe might have to do a bit of fuel saving, but as he is running behind Larry, he will improve his fuel consumption rate. Larry will harm his fuel consumption rate. But I imagine if these two just keep swapping positions every lap or so, as they do just that, as they go down the front straightaway, Maybe goes back to lead. But I imagine if these two continue to swap positions to the end of the run, they will be able to save enough fuel between the two of them to make it to the end of the race without too much issue here. They need to be at about 30% left in the fuel tank at the end of lap 92. Prius is a solid 2nd and 2/10 out from this duo right now. It is just this duo fighting to the end here. Maybe leads. Now Larry looks to his inside. Maybe lets off and Larry goes to the lead. So we're going to see a classic Indycar strategy that we see in the real life races here at the Indianapolis 500, where the top two swap the lead every straightaway or 2 straightaways or 3 straightaways. So both of them are gaining the advantage of the draft off of the car ahead. And the hope is that by doing so, they can save enough fuel to extend their fuel tanks a little longer. Now again, they should have enough fuel. They should have put enough fuel in to make it to the end, but I guess they may have underfueled a little bit. Still, if they can have 30% left in the tank when they cross the start-finish line to end lap 92, they will make it to the end. Prius Killer is now within a second of the leaders, but he is not close enough to get any draft off of them, let alone fight them for position. And while these two are just happy to trade the lead about every lap and a half, it would appear, they are saving fuel on each other. The big thing, though, is that they will continue to slow each other down, trading the lead like this every time, and that could bring Prius into the fray. For Prius, you have to wonder, if Prius has enough fuel to the end, then if he can just catch the draft behind these two and really start pressuring and fighting with them, he could force the two of them to try and run out of fuel. It would be a tough strategy to make work, but that might be something he could try to do, but he has to catch them. And right now, it just does not look like he has what it takes to catch them. Look on board with maybe his fuel number is at 39% right now, so his number is tracking more and more positive. Larry is at 48%. Larry should easily be able to make it on fuel. He does not have to do this swip swap with maybe to the end here. Front Meteor coming into the pit, so that will put him a lap down. So that's one extra position for Dino, but Dino is still going to be outside of the top 10 by the way this race is looking here. Top 10 and off of the lead lap as well. Maybe still leads. Larry looks to the inside, is maybe going to fight back against him. Drag race down the straightaway. Maybe is not going to put up any kind of fight. He'll let Larry have the lead. I wonder if maybe he's a little bit more paranoid about his fuel numbers than he needs to be. He's at, well, that's Larry. I want to know about maybe. As they come across the line, he's got 34%. I don't know, the numbers aren't trending great for maybe, but he should be able to do it. If he's at the end of lap 92 and has 30% left in the tank, he should be able to make it to the end on fuel. So Larry leads once again. We know that Larry does not have to worry about gas to the end of this race. Maybe could still be a little bit short here. And these both of these drivers are far enough ahead of Prius Killer that's unlikely Prius will be able to factor into this fight. Everyone else completely irrelevant right now. As long as we don't have any more yellow flags, it is just this duo. And frankly, even if we do have some more yellow flags, these two have been the fastest two drivers all day long. Maybe is about 2/3 of a lap short on fuel right now, but if he continues to run behind Larry, he should be able to claw that number back. The thing is that if he's going to do that, he's going to have to make his final moves basically in the last 2 laps of the race here. Jack Broseph, who wrecked on lap 2, has recovered up to 4th position, but he is 3 seconds out of the leaders. He's not going to have an impact on this. Dromora has to pit now, so he's going to go 2 laps down here. Shame, because he's had a relatively solid run for a good chunk of the day. But he was involved in that big accident earlier, and is just kind of falling apart now. Maybe still runs behind Larry. If Larry was careful, if Larry was really ready, he would go ahead and back off and force maybe to lead and force maybe to burn through his fuel faster. The thing is, if he keeps doing that and maybe says, no, I'm not playing ball, and maybe he keeps backing off the throttle, and Larry keeps backing off the throttle, they will back up into Prius. And Prius is only about 2/3 of a second back. He's not close enough to have a draft yet, but he is closing the gap back down. Maybe he goes back to the inside, back to the lead. 24%, that's 8 laps of fuel, roughly. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You got 9 laps left, and maybe only has about 8 laps worth of fuel in the tank. The numbers are not trending well enough for maybe. But Larry will not have to worry about this. As long as Larry stays right here behind maybe is not going to be saving fuel. And again, Larry does not have to worry about saving fuel. He's got like 10% more than maybe. He can afford to spend a few more laps out in the lead, no problem. Now Larry goes back to maybe's inside. He led at the line. These are not moves for a position for the overall fight for the race win. These are fights to just stay alive in the strategy. Maybe goes back to the front now. And now Prius has caught Larry. Larry has suddenly lost a huge chunk of time. He has fallen to 3rd. He went really wide at 1-2, slapped the outside wall. That rear tire is at 47% for Larry. For Prius, his rear tire, 47% as well. For maybe, who is leading. 47%, but he's at 18%. He's got 6 laps of fuel left, and we've got 7 laps left. Larry gets back to the inside of Prius. This fight for second could actually be the real fight for the win here, because maybe it looks like he's going to be a lap short. Now Prius pulls up behind Maybe. Is he going to try and get by Maybe and use Maybe as a pick to keep Larry behind? Larry pulls up behind Prius once more. He looks to the inside, can't make a move. Not yet at least. Prius should have more than enough fuel, and he goes by Maybe on the inside. Maybe now falls in line behind Prius. Now crosses him back over on exit, but falls back in line. Prius goes to the lead, and he had a disconnect issue on lap 1 of this race. But he has fought his way back up, even though he has been one of the worst drivers on restarts. As the runs go on, he has made it back up. Now the field catches Keen Racing Leo. Leo shouldn't cause too much issue. He did. He backed Maybe up. Larry tries to get alongside. They made a little bit of contact. Wing to tire. Maybe holds second. Larry is in third now. 5 laps left. Maybe only has 12%. He's only got 4 laps left in the tank. Unless Maybe has some strategy that we're not aware of, he's going to have to pit coming to the white flag, or he runs the risk of running out of fuel and just having to coast around. In that case, he'd likely fall back to about 9th position. You'd almost certainly fall back to a bare minimum of 6, but likely could fall as far back to 9th. And if he pits, he'll still go a lap down anyway. Oh! Prius slaps the outside wall. But now Prius and Maybe are pulling away from Larry just a little bit. Larry is losing touch with Maybe and Prius. Whatever caused Larry to hit the wall earlier has completely torpedoed his shot, and he is now a second out of this duo at the front. We are 4 laps left in the event. And Maybe has a little less than 3 laps worth of fuel. I think this is going to go in Prius's favor. Maybe won 2 of the first 3 races. He's putting himself in the right track position, making 3 out of 4. But this is just not looking like it's going to happen. Not unless there's a yellow that forces everyone to back it down, and then he can save some fuel then. But we are now 3 laps left. If you're going to have a yellow flag, this is the last lap for it to happen at. Larry is now 1.3 seconds out of the leaders. What's happened to Larry? Is there engine damage? Is there car damage? No, that tire is at 61%. That probably has something to do with it. And you look at our leader, Prius, his tire is at 61%. But Prius is not worried about tire fall off. Oh, you can see that thing jerking and swiveling around on the rear tire. But he doesn't care. He's pushing through anyway. He's going to fight through these worn out tires. They come down to the line. It'll be 2 laps to go. Prius has the lead. The driver in second also has worn out tires, 63%, but more concerningly, he is going to run out of fuel. Now, Maybe is backing out significantly. Prius is running off with this now. Prius slaps the outside wall ahead of Maybe, but Prius is running off now. Maybe is going to have to pit. Surely he has to pit this time. Larry has fallen well off of the leader now. But can Prius keep the car under him for another lap? He has to push these tires farther than anyone has thus far today. They're coming down to the white flag. Maybe Racing is still on track. He might run out of fuel on the circuit here. He's out. Maybe is out of fuel. He's second and out of fuel. Here comes Larry, who will steal second position from Maybe. But your points leader, the dominant car of the day, is out of fuel. And Prius is 2 seconds ahead of Larry right now. He just has 2 more corners to go, and Prius can take home what could be the biggest win of his racing career. Now he just has 1 corner left. Can the tire hold up 1 more corner? If it can, he'll be able to bring it home. It's clean track ahead. There's 1 car slowed way up. Won't be a factor. Prius comes down to the line, and he crosses it, and Prius Keller goes from worst to first in the span of 100 racing laps here at Indianapolis. TNR Larry be a second, Broseph is third, Amish fourth, Blackbus is fifth. What about Maybe? He is still coasting. He is driving so slow. He has no fuel. He is just barely pedaling through, and every driver that goes by is more and more points that Maybe loses in the championship fight. Maybe's fallen to 8th now. We'll see Thunder go by shortly here. We'll see Neesmorph go by. Does maybe have the fuel to even get to the line? Is he going to be able to make it back to the start-finish line? He might get passed by the likes of Thomas. Thomas will get by maybe. What about Dino? Is Dino going to get by him? Thomas will take 8th. Maybe will just barely get 9th. And Dino is going to be scored a lap down. That's bullshit, but he will be scored a lap down in 10th by the looks of it. All right, we're going to knock out a ad break here, and we'll be back shortly for post-race interviews here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I do apologize right now. I'm trying to reach out and do interviews with the top finishers here, but seem to be having a lot of issues actually doing that. Don't know why we're not able to get interviews going. I'm not sure if it's an issue with the Xbox or what. I'm going to try another set of interviews, but if I don't get interviews anytime soon here. Oh, wait. Oh, are we finally getting something working here? Prius, can you hear me? All right. I don't know if it's a Xbox party issue or what, but I tried like for so long and I could not seem to get anything going. I apologize. Okay. Are you able to include your audio?
Yes, should be down.
All right, go ahead, include your audio. Prius Killer. It went from a lap 1 nightmare, some sort of disconnect issue plummeting you down the field, but you came home and took the victory here for the 250-miler at Indianapolis. What do you have to say about that incredible comeback drive here today?
Well, that lap 1 was completely my fuck-up. I was trying to hit the record clip button on my wheel, and I actually hit the pause button, so I paused midway down the back straight. But I knew, looking at the strategy, I knew it was just going to be a all softs race. Like the mediums, you could do the same amount of stops between the softs and the mediums due to fuel, so it didn't really matter what tire you were on, and softs were just faster outright and didn't have that much fall off, so pit strategy was really easy. Had a really fast car, thankfully maybe ran out of fuel at the very end, so that's why I was able to get away from him so much. If not, I think I might have been able to still keep it, because I don't know if the tires would be able to hold off for him to be able to get around me, but finally got a win. It's been like a year since Micro Minis, which would have been a nice win, I think, so.
All right, and it wasn't just any win. This was a win at the biggest race of the calendar. Remember, you also had a second-place finish last week as well, so you absolutely fantastic drive. Do you think you have a shot at maybe a run for the championship or maybe even the top 3 in points if you can't make all the races?
Well, I should be able to make all the races, seeing as on Sundays I'm only busy on Saturdays. So, there's 3 tracks I'm really looking forward to, maybe 4th Eagle Rock. I'm hoping I can get him on a couple road courses, get good at the second Homestead, since hopefully I should have better pit strategy then. And I think there's a legitimate run here for me. First time in a while.
All right, we'll really be looking forward to seeing what you can do here with a win here, and then both of your top 2 in the points finishing way down in the order. That should help you out. But mate, absolutely be thankful. Go congratulate yourself. Go drive down to a local Walmart and grab a can of buttermilk and take a big swig. Also beware, because buttermilk tastes absolutely putrid, but go down and get a thing of buttermilk.
I'll just use the milk I have here at home. I got like 2 gallons.
All right, but that's not what the original milk drinker was. The original milk drinker used buttermilk, so go use buttermilk.
But I'm lazy, so I'm doing it here.
All right, well, lazy or not, Prius Killer is your winner here. We don't seem to be able to talk with our second-place finisher, but I do want to talk with our third-place finisher here, Jack Brosov. Jack, go ahead, include your audio. You started on pole, led the first few laps, and then lap 2 of racing, you smashed the outside wall, totaled your car, going to the pits. Somehow you turned it around and came home with a podium finish. Incredible drive, but not what you were looking for. Go ahead and include your audio. What do you have to say about your run today?
Both self-induced and not self-induced. I just had bad luck today. I mean, lap 2, I'd never done pack running with these cars, and I just got aero tight into 4 and just wrecked it. Got in the pits, running quick laps. I was working with Dino a lot. Great working with him. We were just drafting back and forth, working together, flying. And then he was behind me, and I drive on wheels, so I have to keep my controller active so I don't lose audio. And as I went to click the stick to keep it active, I hit the X button, which is downshift. So I blew my motor about halfway through the race. So then I did half a lap with like 50% engine damage, pulled it in the pits, got that fixed, got back on the lead lap. Then I was getting back on the lead lap, and then I was passing a lap car, and they evidently didn't see me. Turned in on me, and then they wrecked, I wrecked, caution came out, which kind of blessing in disguise for me. I think I would have been fine either way, but I'm not sure. And then after that caution, on the restart, I was behind Prius, and Prius lagged, and basically he didn't go, and then by the time he had gone, he was 5 car lengths in front of me, so I lost draft. So that sucked with 20 to go, and then me and Amish were battling, and we didn't work together, and then that was just basically it for me for after that. I think if me and Amish worked together, I think we could have caught Prius and then followed Prius up to maybe. But yeah, just a frustrating day for me. I'm happy with where I finished, but my pace indicates that I should have gotten much more. So yeah, I'll look forward to next week, but beyond that, just a frustrating day for me.
I do have to ask, last week at Grando, you ran no laps in practice, no qualified, and still drove from the back to be in the top 5 finish, on the lead laps that many of the drivers last week struggled to do. Today, you didn't run in pack racing. You had 2 big incidents and still came from the back to finish 3rd. Do you think you can put a race together? Because I think I feel at least if you put a race together, you're going to be a lock to win. But do you think you can put a race together?
I hope so. I mean, I just keep getting no luck. I mean, early in the season it was internet, and now it's a little bit of my driving and a little bit of just unfortunate circumstance. And it's just, I mean, today it was other people's internet. But yeah, I hope I can put a race together maybe later in the season, but we'll see. The oval is really where I have a chance to win. The road course is not so much, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, that's the word from Jack Broseph. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Now I want to talk with our 4th place finisher, Amish Gaming. Amish, go ahead and include your audio. Didn't spend a lot of time talking about you today. You were just kind of here and there, but you still pull out a 4th place run. I believe that's also the best entry from the Ford team. I believe you're one of the other Ford drivers, if I'm remembering correctly. Go ahead and include your audio. What do you have to say about your run today?
I am Honda, but I do believe that this is one of the better runs from Honda. Yeah, it was all strategy based. I think I made a lot of the right calls today. Team GGA did a great job of just making the right calls, going in when we were supposed to go in, and we just put it together. Probably could have worked better with track towards the end. Is what it is. Still got a 4th place finish out of it. I'm pretty happy with where I finished.
All right, a fantastic drive here. You also had that really good drive at Miami a few weeks ago. Any other circuits left on the schedule that you really feel that you have a good shot at stealing wins at?
Maybe, I don't know how likely I am to win something, but probably Eagle Rock. Of everything, I feel like that's a track I consistently do pretty well at.
All right, well, thanks for jumping in, talking with us, Amish. That was a great drive. Maybe not a race winning drive, but still a fantastic driver regardless. Good job there. And now there's one more person I want to talk to, someone who did not finish anywhere near the front. That is Maybe Racing. Maybe, go ahead, include your audio. Fighting for the lead all the way down to the very end. Arguably the fastest driver all day. And you strategize yourself out of fuel and finish last of the lead lap cars. Go ahead, include your audio. What led to that horrible, horrible strategy call?
I don't know if it was necessarily a horrible strategy call on my part. I still don't regret that decision, honestly. I felt like I wanted to have that little bit of extra track position, that little bit of extra play in my ability to make passes and get those passes done. Our Ford Performance cars were, at least I felt, the fastest car on the grid. Unfortunately, timing just didn't line up. The leaders that were racing with me did a fantastic job. They didn't let me save enough fuel at the end, and unfortunately just didn't come to fruition. But good race. Everything went great. Great race with Prius there. Great race with Tato, one of the one-off entries. Great race with Larry as well. And of course, it was a great race and just didn't come to fruition. That's racing.
All right, overall, when it comes down to it, you were the points leader coming in. I believe you should still be the points leader. Second in points did not close on you whatsoever, but everyone else will have closed significantly. When it comes to championship, do you think you can recover and still run off with the title here? You do still have a significant points lead at this point in the season.
I think there's still plenty of possibility. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to run off with it. I don't think I'd be able to run off with it in any form. Again, Prius is a fantastic driver. He showed it today, showed it every race so far, and I think it'll be a good championship fight here. I'm excited for it.
All right, thanks for jumping in, talk with us. Shame to see you run out like this, but hey, at least it makes for some really good broadcasting material.
Definitely.
All right, and with that in mind, that will conclude our post-race interviews here for FEC's Summer IndyCar Series, their Indy 250, in a week's time. What is the next race in a week's time, maybe? You're the host of the series. Well, you're one of the...
Road America, I believe, was the next race.
All right, so in a week's time, will be another high-speed circuit as they come down to Road America, 4-miler, out in the middle of the Wisconsin woods here. But until next time, I've been your host for today's race, Insanely Near 13. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.